all the focus on Greece is missing the point. The real danger now is what's happening across the Eurozone area and the spread of contagion to Spain and to Italy. It's not working in Greece because, look, they've not grown. The unemployment's rising, their debts are getting worse because simply having austerity on austerity actually isn't solving the problem. You've got to have a more balanced approach to getting deficits down, and you've got to get growth and jobs moving. That's our problem in Britain, where our economy is flatlined. It's a problem in the Eurozone too. But secondly, there's a massive crisis of confidence now because the European Central Bank is not willing to stand behind Italy and Spain, which are not in the same situation as Greece, but are being dragged into this crisis. The German taxpayer, as David Cameron acknowledges, isn't willing to do what is needed in a single currency to back the central bank. The leaders in France and Germany are not on the case, and we're now in this position where it looks like the IMF may be called in to effectively take over and play the role the European Central Bank should be playing. That is ridiculous. The IMF's job is not de facto to become the central bank of Europe. And I think David Cameron and George Osborne need to be very careful they don't end up inadvertently or advertently taking us down this road. David Cameron was saying in the press conference there will be no IMF contribution to a bailout fund. But if we end up in parallel with IMF resources going in to support Spain and Italy, then that would be effectively the same thing. The European Central Bank should be doing that. The US Treasury Secretary said today to the BBC's economic editor that the European Central Bank has got all the resources it needs to stand by European countries. It shouldn't be for British and American taxpayers to bail out the European Central Bank, the Germans, the French, and the Stability Fund. And I very much hope David Cameron is going to be very clear on this point. The IMF resources should not bail out Spain and Italy. That is the European Central Bank's job.
But you know very well that the reason the ECB aren't that heavily involved at the moment is because the Germans don't want them to be.
But the Germans are in a single currency. Britain's not. We didn't join. Quite the right decision. The Germans are in the single currency. The European Central Bank is a central bank for the Eurozone. You can't have a single currency with a central bank which says, I'm not willing to play the vital role of lender of last resort. In Britain, the Bank of England does it. In America, the Federal Reserve does it. You can't say in Europe, in the Eurozone, the ECB won't do that job because the German people won't support it, and therefore expect, look, it's ridiculous. The French president saying to China, will you bail out us? Saying to the IMF, will you bail us out? Why should the IMF or Chinese money go in where the European Central Bank is not willing to put its money, even though it absolutely can? That is not a central bank which is working in a functional way. That is a single currency area which is descending into chaos and confusion, and the result will be huge impact on the world economy. We can't have more summits like this which end up in total disarray, no leadership in the Eurozone, no leadership, I'm afraid, from Britain either, saying to the European colleagues, get this sorted out, you are taking us down a road to catastrophe.